What's up, guys? We are back with another Mythic Legions All-Stars 5 review, and of course this is All-Stars 5 Plus, which means we are getting new stuff in this wave. It's not just reissues, it's mostly new stuff. So we're taking a look today at one of the Plus figures. This is Lady Avarona. Now she comes in standard Legion style packaging for, our normal figures. She's in the window there. It's removable, collector-friendly packaging. You've got her Arethyr faction card on one side, bio card on the other. And then the back of the box gives us the Alithia Wave backer artwork cross-sell for this wave and our write-up of Mythos. So let's do it. Let's pull her out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, Mythic Legions Lady Avarona. This is one of the plus side of our All-Stars 5 wave. So this is a new figure, new character. She's kind of a somewhat important character by the way her bio reads. She comes from a place of prominence in Mythos. She's an evil female figure, which we don't get tons of in this line, and of course this is a 2.0 style figure, being a female, which is overwhelmingly how they are used. She is mostly Hadriana as well, too. There's a lot of reuse here. I mean, a lot of reuse for this figure is just Hadriana with a few other parts that make her look a little evil. So let's see what she can do, see how she moves around. I've seen a lot of folks actually say that this is, like a sleeper hit of the wave. I'm not so sure that's true for me, but I am pretty happy with this one. So we've got a head that can look up. She has this helmet on, and it makes the head kind of an odd shape when it's looking up, because that's not natural. But she looks down really good. Tilt side to side, full rotation, all that good stuff. We've got arms that will go out at the shoulder. They, of course, will rotate. You've got your single jointed elbow, 90 degrees. You've got swivel there. I will caution that when it comes to these kind of figures, the 2.0 figures with these big elbow pads, watch out, because you can get them snagged on each other's spikes, the gauntlet and the elbow pad. And if you pull them too hard, you can just pop that elbow pad off. It's just glued in so you can easily fix it. It's not broken when that happens. But it can be kind of frustrating. I did that with this one, actually. So as soon as I took her out of the box, started moving her around and just snagged that elbow pad, and it popped right off. So be careful. Word to the wise. We've got gauntlet swivel. We've got lateral hinges at the wrist and swivel there also. Now, of course, I said this is a 2.0 figure, so she does have that diaphragm cut. This one, because of the style of the torso, because you've got this sort of second layer tabard piece that hangs over top of the torso cut, so she really can't do a whole lot with it. You're not going to get much more than like a second swivel point out of that piece. And then you've also got your rotation at the waist. So torso is kind of locked down, and that's kind of how this torso has always been. It's certainly not anything new and not anything I wasn't expecting with this figure. Legs out, pretty much all the way. Kick forward all the way. Kick backward. You've got a thigh twist up here. We've got single jointed rotating knees, 90 degrees there basically. And then you've got rotation at the top of the ankle, you've got rocker, and you've got hinges down here as well. I will say, one thing that I have noticed with this figure as far as just the joints in general, is that for a 2.0 figure, she does seem to be a little bit more sturdy than what we've seen in the past. I know that's been one of the complaints with 2.0 figures, is that over time in particular, the ankles specifically do seem to weaken. She seems all right. She seems very sturdy right out of the box. I didn't have to heat anything up on her, but she also seems just tight enough that I'm not worried about her toppling over if I look at her the wrong way. Now, visually, I'm really happy with this figure, and there's one major reason for that, and it's mostly just the style of armor that she has. I've said it a number of times in other reviews, figures that have this sort of quote-unquote Dark Knight style armor, at least that's how I interpret it, always do something for me, and that's what she has as far as her armor. So she is covered in this very spiky, dark, sort of nasty armor. It's all very battle-worn and used. She's not covered in paint. Like I said, she is mostly reuse from the Hadriana figure. Not everything, but mostly. And Hadriana is much more ostentatiously painted. She's got a lot more detail. Lady Avarona is very almost utilitarian in terms of her paint. She comes from like a high-ranking family. She's probably incredibly rich in Mythos, but this is her battle armor. It's not necessarily something that looks pretty, I suppose. I do like the color scheme. I like the grays and then this sort of gunmetal color. There is a lot of dry brushing all over the more Dark Knight style parts, because the arms and the thighs are the exact same thing as Hadriana, the forearms and the shins are different. So you've got those, and these are a little bit more evil looking, and these are the parts that have like the crazy spikes all over them. Same for the girdle piece here as well. It's different from Hadriana, and it is a little bit more. It's a little bit more evil looking. It's more heavy plate armor as well. We do get one of the newer style belts on her, and then she does come with soft goods. She like the Xylernian Guard comes with a soft goods tabard lower piece as well as the plastic piece, which we'll talk about later. This is wired. So, of course, you can get it and move it out of the way. I prefer this, going forward. If we never see another plastic piece down there, I will be perfectly fine. But I do like the fact that they're giving us both. It doesn't necessarily match the top of the tabard, though, and this is always going to be a problem with plastic to fabric match. It's close enough. The idea is there, and I'm not exactly worried about it. I do really like this upper torso piece for the females. This sort of tabard with the, I don't know what to call it, this sort of bib thing that sits over top. While it does impede the articulation, I've always really liked it. We don't have tons of it in the line, but I do like this particular piece. And of course it's used here to give her a nice pop of color, whereas otherwise she would just be this sort of gray, blackish void. So this sort of dark maroon, vermilion color almost, does work really well. I'm kind of curious to see what she'll look like next to Vorgus, because I feel like despite them having nothing to do with each other, they might look cool next to each other. And then we do have our head sculpt up here, which is not new, but it features a new piece. So this is, the same head sculpt as Hadriana, and I'll actually bring her out. So this is what's underneath. So you've got the helmeted head, and you've got this face underneath. Hadriana has the same head, but a different face guard, and it's different paint applications. I'll say it again. I said it in this review, in the review for Hadriana as well. I wasn't the biggest fan of her face, the paint on it. Something about it just didn't really work for me. The same face with a different style of paint applications, I think looks just rad. The lipstick that she has matches her tabard color. The smokiness around the eyes looks really good, and those red eyes in particular look great. I'm going to pair her up with the unknown one, and they're going to have a great old time. Again, though, this is the same helmet, so you can pop that down, because she's got this new face guard, which just, it looks more like a standard knight's face guard helmet rather than Hadriana's very gaudy lion guard, which, of Hadriana, this was always my favorite piece, but I do like the fact that we got something different, because this would not work for Lady Avarona. And it also gives you, of course, it gives you an option. You can have this down, you can have it up. I've also seen people turn it upside down and cover her eyes with it, leaving part of her, like the jaw exposed. So whether that's intended or not, you do have a few options. But I really prefer her with it up in many ways, because I think that face in particular, the blackness in that red with her eyes absolutely works and pops and really tops off a pretty, a kind of a basic figure, but one that looks really unique and different because of this color scheme and because of this mix of parts. And for some size comparisons, let's of course start with Mythic Legion. So we've got Lady Avarona in the middle, we've got a 1.0 skeleton on the right, and we've got Gonks here on the left. Of course, Gonks is basically a dwarf, but to give you an idea of how she fares with some other standard Legion's body styles, because of course the 2.0s are slender, slimmer, and slightly shorter than our normal figures. Of course, the dwarf is going to be a little shorter than she is. Let's pull these aside. Let's do Mezco Conan. And he matches up pretty well, because of course, Conan in the 112 line is kind of on the short side. Let's pull Gonks aside, and here is a Hasbro figure. There's a G.I. Joe Classified Cobra Infantry. Let's pull Conan aside, and let's do a figure arts. Here is Turles from Dragon Ball Z. And then let's do one more. Let's do a NECA figure. Here is the Mummy Mikey from the TMNT Universal Monsters line. So you can see, she's very much in line with 7-inch stuff. She's going to scale pretty nicely, and she feels slightly smaller than your normal Mythic Legions, slightly smaller than something big like Mikey here. She's going to fit in a nice little area for Legions where she is kind of bigger than your average 112 line, but slightly smaller than most of your Legions. Now, as far as accessories goes, Lady Avarona has sort of a normal loadout for Legions, but it's also accentuated by a few other things that are just slightly different from the norm. The first of which is going to be the fact that, as I mentioned, she does include 2 tabard pieces. So she comes with the soft goods and the plastic one. This is the exact same situation as the Xylernian Guard, so you do have options here. I've seen some folks use this one in the front and the soft goods in the back if you want like a double-sided thing. I'm going to defer to use the soft goods probably just going forward, but I do like the fact that we get both options. She does have pauldrons,
And we've seen these a lot in the Advent of Decay wave, specifically goblins and elves, things like that have these. So it's kind of like this smaller, dark knightish style pauldron. So they're sort of that dark gunmetal color with some dry brushing over top to accentuate that sculpt. But the other thing she has that is a little bit different is something that kind of just takes a spin on the, which she also includes, the ever-present strap. So, you know, every figure comes with one of these, but she gets a new one that has, it's actually more like a real belt, but it's meant to be used as, you know, like that strap, that sort of bandolier almost. It's got some intricate sculpt work on it, and it has actual paint. So it's not just a flat brown plastic. It does have some paint on it, so it looks a little bit more like it's actually meant to be with this figure. You know, it looks something like she should have, and I intend to actually use this, which works for me because I often don't use these. I just have a mound of these in storage. So I do like the fact that she does include that. We also get some actual weaponry for her. So she gets the shield. This is just the standard round shield handle on the back, as is, you know, customary for all current figures. Little pop of copper and red on it. We get the crescent blade, silver blade with the red and gold handle. She has a couple unique weapons outside of the fact that, of course, you know, they're reuse, but they are, you know, a little bit less than standard, I suppose. And then she has this monster, and I love this thing. I really don't even know what you would call this, but it's gnarly looking. It's big. Like, it's a huge, imposing weapon, especially in the hands of this, like, evil woman. So you've got this big black handle with the silver, crazy-shaped blade. We've seen this again. It came from Advent of Decay. A lot of elves came with this. It was in some of the weapons packs as well. But I do really, really like this. This will probably be my weapon of choice for Lady Avarona. So she does come with some pretty solid stuff. Again, it's kind of like a standard loadout for a Legions figure, but there's just a couple things that are slightly extra with her when it comes to that new strap and the inclusion of both types of tabard pieces. So yeah, overall, I'm really happy with this one. Again, I've heard people say that she is the sleeper of the wave for them. I don't think I agree with that personally, but I am pretty happy with this one. I definitely think she is a welcome addition to the line. A lot of that comes from the fact that she is an evil female. And historically in this line, there really isn't that many. I mean, frankly, we haven't gotten a lot of 2.0 female figures in a long time. We got some in the Alethea wave, but it's been quite a while before that since they explored this body style and this type of figure. So I'm glad to be able to get another one. And I think they really did a solid job of using a lot of existing parts with that new helmet or new face guard to make her into something familiar, but again, very unique with this particular color scheme and that face paint application. Because the face is really what kind of seals this figure for me as being something very different. She looks incredibly evil and is using a face that historically I wasn't the biggest fan of, but it works really well with these paint applications. Everything is super clean, super crisp, and just that red and the black combo up there absolutely nails it. So that's going to do it for this look at the Mythic Legions All-Stars 5 Plus Lady Avarona. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.